Hi everyone, it's William. We've got the Grand Duke Dmitri 1915 diary series today. Much less complicated for the moment than the 1938-1939 stuff, but of course we're talking about a 23-year-old. Okay, no offense to 23-year-olds. Our recap. Well, in the previous video, we had the first part of the Candide interview, very, very interesting, and we got a little description of Dmitri in his sort of native environment there at a Grand Hotel at the Georges V in Paris, and which is still in existence, of course, still a Grand Hotel, so if you happen to be in Paris, go and check it out. And we have Dmitri sort of not naming names and kind of downplaying the whole incident with Vladimir and calling it nonsense and frivolity. So, okay, our 1915 recap. Well, you know, same old, right? The book, the chess, the snow, one mention of Paul as being ill, Grand Duke Paul. And our cast today, we have a mention of the ballerina Alexandra Balashova, and she is not present, but she will be mentioned. Okay, so it's the 23rd of January / 5th of February in Usovo. Really, really cold today. 7 degrees below freezing with a strong wind, but generally sunny, so not snowing. Here we go. I got up around 11 o'clock, though I actually woke up earlier. I enjoyed lying in bed for a while. It's a good feeling to know that I'll be going to Moscow tomorrow, though I have no news whatsoever from Balashova. Before lunch, I barely stirred from the house because the strong wind was a hindrance. It was awfully nice just to sit in the courtyard. I lunched à deux with GM, after which we likewise didn't go outside right away, but sat a while in my apartment, listening to the gramophone, etc. Around 4 o'clock, I went skiing in the direction of Parnassus, where I came out onto the river. I sat there, sheltered from the wind, and went home at 5 o'clock. I had tea with GM and then read The Chancellor of Ancient Egypt. Very interesting, but a bit empty. I read in that manner until 8 o'clock, when I had dinner à deux with GM, of course. Then we listened to the gramophone and I read. Later, we sat down to play chess. Naturally, he gave me a beating. Around midnight, we had tea, then I read again, and then went to bed. What will be happening in Moscow? Who will I see there? And what will I do? Okay, really straightforward stuff. Well, we don't know what happened to Balashova. According to Dmitri, she was the one who asked him to write to her, or most likely, he asked, if maybe he asked, I don't know. Did he ask if he could write to her and she said, or he asked her to write to him? But the way he puts it, he says she asked him if it was okay for her to write to him. So she seemed to be interested, but clearly she's not. She's just not. She was, so he said, the woman that I want, and he was at first anxious to receive a letter from her, but he seems to have kind of gotten over it, more or less. There's plenty of fish in the sea, right? Okay, one little aside, was she warned off by somebody saying, don't get involved with this guy? I don't know. If so, I don't know why that would be the case, but yeah, or maybe she just wasn't interested. Okay, the river that he's referring to is the Moscow River that he came out on the bank of, apparently. And now he's finding the book very interesting. He started out finding it uninteresting, the Krzyżanowskaya book, The Iron Chancellor of Ancient Egypt. Now he's finding it very interesting, but empty. And when he says empty, I think he's kind of not echoing because he hadn't heard it, but kind of saying the same thing that Gorky had said about it. The famous writer Gorky saying, "Yeah, it's a trivial work," but yeah, I don't know. Since, well, he wasn't so much yet. I was going to say since he was into occult things, maybe it appealed to him that Krzyzanowskaja was so into occult things, but he found it empty of that. But I don't know. It sounds to me like he just thought, yeah, okay, what I'm learning about ancient Egypt is interesting, but overall the book it's not great. And Dmitri knew good literature. You've seen what he's been reading lately of the French novels that aren't just empty French novels. All right, chess, yeah, he just can't get anywhere with the game. But he is excited about Moscow. We can see that. Oh, what's going to happen? Who am I going to see? So we'll find out. What do we have next time? Well, part 2 of the Candide article. That will be an interesting one because this will be Fayard, the journalist, filling the reader in on his take and Dmitri's take on what's going on with other members of the imperial family. And then when we return to 1915, we will have Dmitri in Moscow, which means we will have actresses even on the first day. And we'll have an appearance of Nikolai Johnson, who I believe was the sort of personal secretary to Grand Duke Mikhail Alexandrovich. And oddly enough, Johnson will seem to be kind of a go-between between Dmitri and Balashova, who was, of course, Johnson's boss's wife, Mikhail's wife. So, yeah, come back, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.